Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
We have an entire quorum here tonight: Don, Alder Jetzer, myself, Dave Wilborn, and Kim Lobdell. So thank you for all being here. First is public appearances for non-agenda items. We do not have any tonight. So that moves us on to agenda item 3 alpha, approval of September 15, 2026 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move we approve September 15 meeting.
I'll second.
Moved by Wilborn, second by Lobdell. Questions, corrections, additions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the September 15th minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have item 4, a report of our Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. Just a couple items to follow up on from our September 15th, 2025 Board of Public Works meeting. At that meeting, Ross Kaler, the city's transportation engineer, had come to kind of discuss the permissive versus protective left turns. And Ross has, since that meeting, worked with FACTv to kind of do a Talk Fitchburg with FACTv and basically talk about signals and generally focusing in on the permissive versus protective left turns and kind of regular signals and timing. So that should be coming out this week. If it doesn't come out this week, it'll come out next week. I'll send out a link to everyone so you guys can see that. Secondly, I think at the last meeting, Don had mentioned just the tennis court surface at McKee Farms Park, just that you had heard the surface doesn't bounce normally. So those tennis courts were installed with a pro bounce surface, and there is a different sound the ball does make off that surface versus asphalt and concrete, and it does play different. The consultant did do a bounce test on September 25th, 2025, so a report will be generated from that test, and we'll see if it does bounce like it should. Early indications are that it does meet the standard specifications for that surface. And then next up, just renewable diesel. Alder Jetzer had mentioned just a webinar that was hosted recently, kind of talking about renewable diesel. So renewable diesel, it looks pretty promising as an alternative to petroleum diesel. It does meet the same ASTM standard as petroleum diesel. And Madison's been using it the last maybe year and a half, 2 years on their equipment and vehicles, and they haven't had any issues. So vehicles don't need to be upgraded to use this form of diesel. It's basically plug and play. You can use your existing tanks, fill it up with the petroleum or the renewable diesel, and then just fill up your vehicles with that and equipment. The vehicles and equipment don't need any upgrades. Kind of the cons to the renewable diesel is availability. Right now in this area, it's hard to come by. Madison actually trucks it in from North Dakota. So the cost with that, they said it's about $1.50 to $2 more a gallon, the renewable diesel versus the petroleum diesel. And then kind of in winter, you still need to blend the renewable diesel with the petroleum diesel just to make it work in the colder temperatures so it doesn't gel up. I think what we may do is look to potentially utilize it in one of our snowplows this winter. Maybe talk to Madison to see if we could purchase the diesel from them, since they're the ones hauling it in, and kind of just test it through winter. So they would have it already blended in the winter blend for us, and then come spring and summer, we would maybe test it in our street sweeper to see how it handles, and then kind of go from there if this is something we want to explore. So with that, I think also the moving on to the next subject was just the Tower Hill Park Shelter came up at the last meeting, just kind of the status of that project, and we're waiting on the windows and doors to come in for that project. So that the frames are in, but waiting on the glass and the actual door, and then some painting. But originally it was supposed to be substantially complete at the end of September. We're looking now at the end of October for that project. And then during this week, Alder Herbst had just requested, I kind of discussed the well number 12 project and kind of the costs with that. So with our well number 12, the actual pump house, the engineer's estimate for that project was $2.9 million. And then we received 3 bids, which ranged from $3.7 million up to $4.9 million. And typically the style of pump house that the city's historically done has kind of been a ranch style house with straight roof lines. So our last pump house we bid out was back in 2008, which was pump number 11, and that came in at $1.5 million. So kind of the differences between the design of number 11 and the well number 12 pump house is bathrooms have been included in this pump house, and also an open aired shelter. So kind of with that additional floor space, you have additional costs for the foundations, the walls to those structures, and then kind of it changes that roof line, where before we were a straight roof line and now it's all more cut up. Also with well number 12, we have a generator. So with a generator, there's a cost for the additional foundation, the walls, soundproofing of that additional room. And then with well number 12 pump house, we also had some ancillary improvements being done to the water distribution system. So we had the Swan Creek pressure reducing valve modifications included with the project, some modifications at well number 7, and some SCADA upgrades. So that's kind of why there's such a large cost between our last pump house we did back in 08 to what we just recently bid out. Kind of with the discrepancy between the engineer's estimate at 2.9 to what bids came in at 3.7. You know, right now we're looking to redesign it to remove the open air shelter, so that should bring down costs. And we also think kind of rebidding it once those design modifications are complete, we'll hopefully see a reduction too. We're hoping to see a little bit more than 3 bids. So with that, does anyone have any questions with well 12?
Is it time critical?
It's not time critical. We do have the tower up under construction. The hole has been drilled, but as far as producing water, there's no criticalness associated with that.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so you mentioned the bathrooms in the open air shelter. Was this going to like double as a park? Or, I mean,
Well, it's adjacent to the park in Stoner Prairie.
this is the North
Yes.
Stoner, okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
There'll
the
be a shelter
bathrooms,
there.
and there is an open air shelter
Right, that just
associated
recently
with that.
opened
So
up.
hence the reason to kind of go back to the redesign it and remove that, since there is the open air shelter already built.
Okay. But the bathrooms would service that park, and those are the only bathrooms for that park.
Correct.
Tim, in the mayor's budget, she had additional $3 million for this. Where's the, I see about $1 million difference between, where's the other two?
So
guess,
there is
tower more,
and we're sitting down tomorrow with finance, so it's Public Works and financing sitting down to kind of drill into that a bit more, and there's a discrepancy with kind of our numbers, ours being Public Works and finance with what was carried over from previous budgets. So I can kind of report back at our next meeting to kind of see whose number was more accurate.
You might have it fine-tuned a little bit.
Yeah, so finance it right now is saying the carryover was only 617,000, and we're coming up with, I think, a little over a million, about around $1 million in carryover. So there's still a shortfall, and that shortfall is kind of how bids came in, $1 million over.
Yeah. $1 million, million's a lot of money, a lot less than three. Thank you for that explanation. We appreciate that. It was a little nebulous, when we had so many things to talk about when we went through the budget proposals. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Tim?
Tim, I just maybe a suggestion on the tennis court thing. You got final inspection going with the consultant. Maybe put up a note somewhere on a paper asking the users, got any dead spots? Call whomever. Then I think we got it nailed.
Yeah, and as part of the test, he performed it at 38 locations. Obviously, he didn't check every inch of it, but like I said, it's gonna play different. So the sound's different than when it comes off an asphalt or concrete playing surface. So it's gonna sound a little bit more, and also the balls that they play, whether it's a Penn or a Wilson, can play different too. So once that report comes out, I can kind of provide a little bit more detail. I'll let you guys know what the results were for that.
Thank you.
Bill? Yeah, so after the tennis courts opened, they did get pretty heavy use last fall. And I presume, the whole time up until now, have we received a lot of complaints or any complaints?
I spoke to Joran, who's our parks maintenance supervisor. Him and his staff are out there daily, and he mentioned a handful of comments regarding that. But when the city did pick that surface, it was told to us it would play different. It would sound different than a normal asphalt concrete surface. So, but like I mentioned, I can bring back the results of that test, and we can go from there.
Tim, can you just give us an update on the Cyene different phases schedule, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So phase 2 of Cyene Road was opened on Friday, September 19th. So from just north of East Sherrill up to Clayton is open. And then with phase 3, we're looking to install the binder and surface asphalt this week for that project. We're still on track for November 3rd, so once the asphalt gets put down, we'll finish up I believe Ross mentioned there's a scheduling of the traffic signal next week to look into that, and as long as there's not many issues or any troubleshooting, we may even be able to open a little bit earlier than November 3rd. Another update on our 2025 street maintenance project, as our crack filling and chip seal project. Chip sealing and crack seal is complete, and then the contractor's just wrapping up some striping this week, so that project should be complete at the end of this week. And then our Fitch-Rona Road reconstruction project, the TPP was approved at the September 23rd council meeting. And then also just an update on Fish Hatchery Road. That's the repairs the county's making at Lacey Road and Fish Hatchery and East Sherrill and Fish Hatchery. The repairs at Lacey intersection are complete. And then right now they're working at the East Sherrill intersection. They're looking to have those repairs completed by the end of next week.
Yeah, you weren't here when we did that. I was really surprised, if you're going north on Fish Hatchery at the Lacey intersection, if you wanted to turn left onto Lacey, how broken up that
turn lane?
That turn lane was, and maybe there's more trucks. It's got to be trucks, when the trucks turn, they more drag across there, and that's got to be what it is, because I thought, man, that's destroyed. What the heck?
Yeah, and that's already been repaired and complete by the county staff last week.
Okay. If you could, I don't know if this would be something for Phil Groupie to put on the city site, but asking people to keep if they have storm drains in front of their homes, to keep the leaves and debris out, and also asking if there are leaves in their gutter, rake them up. I know they figure that should be the street sweeper, but you don't do it, and then it rains, and then the intersection is flooded, and so if you could, I posted something on Nextdoor about it, but if the city could post something to it.
Sure.
As I drive around, I rode my bike around yesterday. There were plenty of them that were packed full, and I couldn't kick all of them open. So, all right. Thank you, Tim.
Yep. And then just lastly, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is going to be having 2 upcoming public involvement meetings, one in person and one virtual. This is for the US 18-151 corridor study, which is between the town of Dodgeville and then McKee Road here in Fitchburg. So the in-person meeting is going to be Wednesday, October 8th this week from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and that's at the Mount Horeb High School. And then the virtual meeting will be Thursday of this week, October 9th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you for that notification. I know Logan has been attending those. Alder Ragsted's been attending.
Yes, and Ross has also been attending it as part of staff.
Right. Thank you.
And I think the Thursday meeting overlaps with TTC.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be able to do the in-person meeting on Wednesday.
All right.
Jim, I think at the last meeting, Fitch-Rona had some real estate. Did that get resolved?
That was the TPP was at the last meeting. So right now we're working to get that TPP recorded, and then we'll start with the negotiations with the property owners.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
I got one more.
Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned striping as part of the street maintenance project. Was the striping on the resurfaced roads also part of that same project, the same contractor?
So the striping for the resurfaced roads was included with the contractor that did the resurfacing.
Okay, so for instance, the timing of the crosswalks at Richardson and Pembroke, just within the last few days, that's purely coincidental then?
That was part of the chip seal project, which is the maintenance project, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
Pembroke was chip sealed.
Right, and
Yes.
Richardson was resurfaced, but the 2 crosswalks went in at the same time.
Yeah, so then they included that particular Richardson with the street maintenance project.
Okay. And I noticed it because it's bright and shiny and new, and I thought, oh, well, maybe this is like, one of our first baby steps towards Vision Zero or something. And then I kind of got this feeling, maybe there was a crosswalk there before, and I had to look back at least 6 years on Google Street View before you could reliably see the old markings for the previous crosswalks. So I guess I'm wondering, how often do we go back and repaint crosswalks that have worn off? Because I mean, it seems like we ought to be doing that, and I don't know that we have been.
And we do that. It's obviously time consuming, and each intersection, depending on traffic and wear and tear, it's going to wear different. So we do go out and paint when we can and weather allows us. So we don't have a set time frame per se, just because there's a lot of variables that play into it, but we do go out every summer and season to paint that and curb and crosswalks and bike lanes, and there's a lot to the city.
Sure.
And only so much resources.
Right. I guess I'm wondering, is that something that we want to keep in-house, or is that something that we should, offload to our street maintenance contractor or something? And should people be sending in notify me messages when it seems like, this is, far enough along that it probably needs repainting?
Yeah, obviously any resident, if they notice something, can send us, and that's how we do get those. We do get emails, phone, notify me's. It comes in all directions, and, we'll take a look and it'll get added to the list, and kind of also, we'll prioritize too, depending on time and resources. And we can contract out, but obviously there's a cost for that.
Right. I don't know what's more efficient.
Right. So it's more efficient and cost effective for us to do it. However, obviously, our streets team, we have 150 miles of road and only 9 people, well, minus the supervisor, so 8 people to maintain all that. So we run into challenges with resources.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate it. All right, let's move into our agenda items. The first one we have is 5 Alpha Resolution R16125, approving the design services agreement for the County Highway MN Underpass project. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. So as we know, this will bike path, mostly pedestrian too, but so people living in Terra Vesa don't have to cross MM to get onto the bike trail system, to the west. And so I'll let you take it from there, Tim.
Thank you. On August 22nd, 2023, the Fitchburg Common Council approved the state municipal agreement for the construction of CTH MM underpass. The underpass project will construct a bike and pedestrian underpass underneath CTH MM, approximately 1,600 feet north of Lacey Road. The proposed underpass will connect the growing Terra Vesa neighborhood on the east side of MM to a future development on a former construction landfill site on the west side of MM. Public Works Department issued a request for proposal for engineering services. The RFP was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal and posted on questcdn.com. 10 proposals were received. The city completed a review of these proposals and issued a proposal request specifically for this project to 3 qualified engineering firms. 2 proposals were received and evaluated based on a review of cost and qualifications. The MSA proposal had the lowest cost, and the firm satisfactorily designed similar structures for the city in the past. The 2025 CIP included $150,000 for design services of this project. $80,000 in additional funding will be necessary to cover the additional $36,380 needed for MSA's design fees, as well as additional costs for contingency, soil borings, geotechnical reports, and WSDOT design review. The CTH, MM, and McCoy Road intersection signalization project is complete and has excess funds available that can be directed to this project. So we're looking for council to amend the 2025 capital projects fund budget to transfer $80,000 from the MM and McCoy Road intersection project to the MM underpass project. And then we're looking for council to approve the award of the project to MSA in the amount of $205,018, and that includes a 10% contingency of $18,638.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead, Bill.
I got several. So the verbiage in there says 10 proposals were received, and based on these proposals and past projects completed for the city, 3 firms were selected to provide a proposal for the project. So what was the response to the RFP versus what we're asking, or what we did ask?
So the first RFP was advertised back in 2024. So that's the city's general engineering services RFP. So firms will submit on that. And that we got the 10 firms for. So whenever we...
So not specifically for this project.
Right. And
Okay.
then whenever we
Okay.
have a project, we typically look through those 10 proposals and see who's the most qualified out of those 10. And then we'll ask for a kind of give them a scope of work and a price, and see schedule-wise too if they can meet the schedule for this particular project. So for this project, we had requested 3 firms from those 10 to kind of give us a specific proposal for this project.
Okay. I just thought proposal.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what was going on there. And then on the map, it shows a future trail route in a dashed yellow line, and that will be built by whoever develops that parcel, right?
And you're talking on the west side of MM?
Correct, yeah.
Yes, that would be built by the developer.
Okay. And, yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like I heard Mike Zimmerman say that there was, we had somebody who was going to develop that parcel 2 years ago or something and backed out. And I feel like I heard Mike say there was somebody else interested. But
They'll be coming to planning, Bill. There'll be a new, a different developer and a little different plan, but I think that's moving ahead.
Okay.
I had a discussion with them, and I think sometime in the next, if not in the next month or the next couple months, it should be coming before planning with it's a little different proposal based on, you can't put large buildings on there because it's a construction, barrels and concrete. So it'll be a little different proposal, but person showed it to me. I think it'll be acceptable to the city, and then they would put in that path along that side. So, Tim, so it's 216 for the design. What do we have an estimate for the installation, the construction installation on it? I know we're just approving the design fees right now.
Yeah, and I can pull up see if I can pull it up in a timely manner.
I feel like it was in the $700,000 to $800,000 range, and roughly half of that was paid for by a grant?
Yeah, the grant, 20% grant.
Oh, it's 80/20.
For construction, and then the city pays 100% of the design.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You're right up to 60.
Was it 60/40?
Yeah, you got 60/40 on your tab.
So the city's portion of this will, and based on that number, would roughly be $500,000 based on a 60/40. We have to pay 40% of the construction cost and the full design, so we'd be in the neighborhood of $500,000.
Only if it's over $1 million. If it's 700 to 800, it'd be less than that.
Well,
Because we only paid
it was
40.
40%, yeah, 40% of 700,000 was a little less than 300,000. Another 216.
Oh, you were adding the design
I was
into it?
adding the design, yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess, well, just one comment. I mean, if this is brand new, I'm hoping this isn't a problem, but there are, various underpasses. I do ride a lot, and I would say the majority of the existing underpasses have problems with standing water. So I guess whatever we can do to just, reminder, hey, let's make sure we have proper drainage, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, and that's something we can obviously look at more closely during the design, the standing water. So I'll mention something to Ross tomorrow to kind of keep a note out for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a lot of money, but we have a lot of people live on that side. And getting across on a bike, well, I can do it and don't have any problem. You know, I think it's just safer for everyone to have that underpass and a nice tie-in to the Capital City Trail and other trails. Okay. All right.
And the estimated cost was $770,160, and the federal share was $432,000.
Okay.
And then the local, which was us, providing $338,000.
Okay.
Okay. Plus the design.
Plus the design.
Yeah.
I guess one more question here. I don't know how accurate that estimate is, but the schedule laid out in there shows that we would let this out for bid in March of 27. Do we feel like that's going to be problematic? Or is this a big enough project that maybe it's okay?
As far as timing-wise or cost?
Well, I get the feeling that you're best off letting these things out for bid during the off-season when people don't yet have their schedules full.
Right.
But if the project is big enough, they can clear their schedule.
Yeah, and that let date's the kind of the last date. We can let sooner. So, obviously we would like to kind of get it out a little bit more January-ish, I think, versus March. So that's something we'll strive for internally to kind of meet it a little ahead of time.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's as you all know, it's a substantial investment in our bike infrastructure, which we make investments. Bill, I know at the meeting, if it was last week, they said, we only have a pedestrian rating of bicycle rating of 41%. I thought, well, who in the hell has one better in the whole country? I've been all over. We spend a lot of money on making this a bike-friendly city, and I don't know who's doing those ratings, but I disagree with it immensely. But
well, I mean, if you pick any 2 points in the city and try and get there by bike, chances are you're going to have at least one portion of it that's high stress, and that's what it's based on.
So be it. All right.
Quick question on it. How much flexibility do you have in that TAP funding should under not work based on drainage or lighting and you have to go over? Do we?
That's a big one.
Well, we looked at, during the application process, we looked at contours and everything that contours don't allow over, and it's really dangerous too, given the speed there and visibility, the turn to the north. So we are going under.
Oh, okay. So you have no alternatives but to go under. You
Yeah.
can't at grade or go over. Okay. Because I assume planning looked at why aren't we going on the other side of the street instead and eliminate.
Yeah, and the grades on the east side of the street to kind of continue that path on the east side north from Terravest, so the grades are really steep the further you go north.
And there will be some sort of a development on the west side, and so even if we tried to put the path on the east side, we would then also have to put in the tunnel or a path, along the west side of Double M as well.
Or some sort of at grade, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This tunnel won't be that long,
Right.
the tunnel. I think the tunnel that no one wants to take is the one at Midville and the Beltline. I think you know which one I'm talking about. You only go in there if you want to risk your life. It's new neighborhood, and I think you'll be able to see right through it. It's not that the road isn't that wide there, so it'll be a safe tunnel for accessing. Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor of approving Resolution R16125 for the design services for the County MM underpass, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good discussion. Next, we have Resolution R13325, setting the 2026 solid waste collection rates. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Wilborn. As I look at this, a modest increase from the modest increase in there. Do you want to hit the highlights of this, Tim?
Yes, the city of Fitchburg provides residential collection for solid waste, which is our refuge, recycling yard waste and brush through a contract with Pelletary Waste Systems. City of Fitchburg also provides holiday tree collection and brush collection for apartment and condominium units not on private streets, which are not served by the city's contract. The city will provide these services at a cost of approximately $1,766,000 for the year 2026. Approximately 6,675 homes will be charged for weekly curbside refuge collection, recycling collection every other week, 5 yard waste collections, and 14 brush collections for 2026. Approximately 3,766 apartment and condominium units will be charged for brush and holiday tree collection service for 2026. All units presently served by the city's solid waste collection contract shall be charged an amount of $236 per unit. This is an increase from $232 per unit in 2026. Then all apartment and condominium units not on private streets, which are not served by the city's contract, will be charged an amount of $7.35 per unit, which is an increase from $7.25 per unit. With that, does anyone have any questions?
One quick one, the provided for apartments, is that for unit that are 4 units or less? Do you provide it for all apartments? And
It's just the apartments on city streets,
Okay.
and not private streets.
Okay. All right.
Tim, the only bigger jump I see here than the other ones were recycling cart swap. What's that? And any indicators why that went up a lot more significant than the other ones?
The recycling cart swap is if you want a larger cart size. So if you wanted to go from, and I don't know the sizes, I think it's a 35 gallon, and then it's maybe a 65 or a 90. Because the city did, as part of the 2025 contract with Pelletary, we took away the unlimited recycling because it wasn't getting used.
Anything else on this? Okay. Nothing. Thank you, Tim, and the people on the resource conservation and everyone involved with looking at this and getting this resolved first. I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-13325, setting the 2026 solid waste collection rates, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have 5, Charlie. Resolution R-17125, approving change order 2 for McGaw pickleball courts to allow for court lighting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. We have some from the public. Shelley Reynolds, we'll call her up first to speak.
Hello again. So I'm going to talk about the same thing that I talked about last week, which is how important these pickleball courts are, correct? And now how important it is to have the lighting that we all wish to have. I don't know if you know the stats that pickleball has gotten fastest growing sport, as we've been hearing for years. It's a 45% year-over-year increase in pickleball around the country. The Capillary Pickleball Association has increased from 277 people in 2018 to 1,250 now, or closer to 1,300 now. And the one thing that pickleball started was for older folks, but now the average population is age 35 is playing. So that's one of the things that we are concentrating on. I'm with the McGaw Pickleball Advisory Committee that we started about 4 years ago to help offer classes and coaching and to help with open play. So open play, as you may or may not know, is when anybody can come and play. So it happens around the city. Mittagaw is the only park that welcomes every person that comes to play during open play. So it's kind of like the old pickup basketball games when you just show up and people let you in. Same thing with pickleball. So over this past year, well, last year, we kept track. So the McGaw group, we have about 10 members, active members, and we show up at those open plays and are the facilitator for all of them. We take care of the courts, we watch the courts. And last year, we had over 9,000 single people showing up, single plays. So 9,000 times people played over the course of the year last year. And we're going to probably be close to 10,000 this year. So it's a lot of people, but we're finding that a lot of those folks are seniors that are playing during the day, and the younger folks only get to play during, the peak summer months. So the early months and then the further months, we don't have lights for them to play, and we're getting more and more younger people to playing. Now it's great when they come. It's after work, 5 o'clock, so they don't have the lights when it gets past 7 o'clock, and where they could be playing another 3 hours, they would. So we do have some stats, which I didn't have last time, but Aaron took care of and had month over month. After August, it was a steep drop of 100 players less in September and 100 players. Well, 50 at this point. It'll be more than 100 in October. So, and that's because it's too late. It's too dark. We can't play anymore. There's other courts in town that have lights, but nobody has 12 courts. The other reasons why we want to have lights is because we want to draw big tournaments when we can here, and because pickleball is becoming so popular, it's hard to get those big tournaments without lights. We had a big tournament, Capillary Pickleball Association had their big tournament, not this past year, but the year before, and it was great, but we couldn't draw as many people because we couldn't go into the evening. So this past year, in 2025, it went to other courts, because they had lights. So there's also a couple other big tournaments. Sun Prairie's been offering them for years, but we will be able to bid for those. Well, hope we can get those too. So it just opens up a lot of tournaments. The other thing is that part of these people that are coming to play are during the day. So we have open play in the mornings, and then we have classes, coaching opportunities for beginners. I myself have taught over 100 people this summer to play for free because we are with Impact. We don't get paid. We just do this for free. And those folks are all seniors generally. So what we want to do and what we get complaints about is if we can offer it on a Saturday, we can, but I also work and so do other people work. So it's easier for us to do it during the day, during the week. So we'd like to be able to offer, because we have 12 courts now, we can offer some beginner classes in the evenings as long as we have lights. So that's going to be on our list of things to do. We want to be able to offer some fun events in the summer, especially for pickleball. For Fitchburg people, and we have some ideas about some leagues and some themed tournaments that would be fun, like Oktoberfest of something. Some fun things that we can offer. But we need to be able to go into the evenings. So because people get off work at 5, don't get home till 6 or 5:30, get ready, come out to the courts, and it's already 6 and lights, and when it comes to September, October, then it starts to get dark pretty early. Pickles and Beer is another event that a couple here in town have started, and actually they've been invited to other courts around the state, and that's the largest event that's offered that we know of every week in the state. We get close to 100 people every Friday night out of the park. And then we have to end it early because we don't have lights. So now it's moved to indoors, and we can't offer it now. People are still wanting to play, especially when it's 70 degrees out, right? So those are the biggest things. We had another event this summer, this Run, Walk, Bike to McGaw event, and we had food trucks, but the food trucks we couldn't do it into September, October because the food trucks say it's not worth the money to come out because they can't stay out later because there's no lights. So those are the big reasons why we believe that the lights are important.
Thank you, Shelley.
Okay.
Next, we have Patrick Cheney and Kitty Crest that would like to speak.
I'm done.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. We give you 3 minutes. I let you go a little longer.
Oh, okay, no,
All right.
sorry.
This is going ahead, so it needs to be installed right. All of the pages that you're looking at for the architecture plans indicate a single start-stop or on-off control, meaning if somebody wants one court lit, they push one button and all the lights come on all 12 courts. I checked with a architecture person, but it was the wrong person to ask those questions, so I didn't get any answers on specifics. These specification pages are not clear on this point and don't include all the details that are required for this installation, so I can't find an answer yet. I raised this and some other questions at another meeting, but I got no reaction from that other commission. I don't know why not. Maybe they're not interested in digging into details, or they don't understand electrical specs. Not everybody does. Or they don't care about energy savings, even though that's a high goal of Fitchburg. But this board should be interested and understand the specs and care. So I suggest adding an amendment to this resolution, something like, this must have at least separate lighting controls for these 2 court areas, for the 8 west courts and for the east 4 courts. This board will remember adding a clause for the MG&E easement a few weeks ago. At the council, one alder had an odd complaint objecting to, quote, governing by committee, which I thought was a strange comment because that's what all these committees are for.
It's not worth dwelling on anymore.
Well, all the boards, commissions, committees are citizens representing the residents to decide on government actions. And that's the same for the council as a committee. And that's exactly precisely why you are here. In an unexpected way that things sometimes go, that alder has resigned off the council. So try this amendment to add a directive to get this right. It'll be a little more dollars, but it's now or never, and that's what contingency money is for. Then see if anyone on the council wants to argue against energy conservation.
Thank you, Patrick. Adam, you want to come up quick? So we're just going to ask you a simple question. You know, I think Patrick's suggestion is very very practical. You know that. So how much effort would be for you to change the spec? You know, to have 2. I think that makes sense. You know, like majority of the time at night, maybe in the summer, you know, in June and July where it's warm the whole time, you know, we might need all 12 or during a tournament, but I think majority of the time, I suspect that those four courts, lighting those might take care of a lot of the demand. So my question for you, can you include that in the spec at this point?
And actually, if I could jump in
Go ahead,
here
Bill.
too.
Go ahead.
I guess it's unclear in the diagrams just how many light poles there are going to be. You know, is it possible to light one court at a time? But also on page 48, it does say each court shall be provided with their own enclosure for the keyed on-off selector switch. Does that mean that there already is the capability to, or, you know, we're planning that? Yeah, so anyway, just to add more context to Dave's question.
So just to clarify, I'm not an electrician, so I'll do my best to answer this, but my understanding is as designed right now, when you turn them on, all 6 light poles will go on. I think the challenge comes into, you know, the amendment here tonight is just putting the poles in place. So my understanding, the wiring and all that connectivity between the poles has already been put in place. So I'm not an electrician, just it's going to be more of a technical question of how that was wired and how it can be potentially configured after it was wired. I just know from doing things in my house of how you run wires. But the intent of this is to be set up similar to McKee with that same kind of control panel. That's what's kind of, I think, shown in the drawings here is what's at McKee. But all 6 would go on as currently designed.
6 light poles, so all 12 courts, is that what you're saying?
All 12 courts, I'm sorry, yes, my mistake. All
Okay.
12 courts would be lit. So it's all or nothing, like flipping on a light switch in a room.
Yeah, I am an electrical, I'm not an electrician, but I am an electrical engineer, and I don't perceive this being a big issue to get a switch. Seeing where it's fed from Adam, it's coming from the, if I'm at the courts, it's coming from the left out on the street would be the source, and I don't perceive that being a huge issue to have that design change. I say the residents here, they heard the Parks Commission, well, how many hours is this is a year? It's not a large number. I'm not saying I'm not saying we shouldn't put the lights in, but it's not a huge number of hours. That we would like to be able to do that. To have 4 courts. Like I say, I suspect most of the time, lighting. If you had 4 on, it would probably take care of things there. So. I would like that included. Bill's question, I'm not sure what the spec is. It seems to indicate that you'd have something for each court, but
well, maybe it's just a switch at each court that turns all the lights on. I don't know.
Maybe that.
I had trouble parsing that.
I think the intention of that, they were trying to show what's at McKee, because the desire was to kind of match what we have out there. And I believe McKee, you can switch between the courts, or that is staggered, I believe, in the lighting out there. But I think that was in there just showing kind of what we wanted. And I guess if we're looking at trying to look into if we can light these differently, just to be clear on that, we're looking at we've got the 4 new ones, and then we've got the existing 8 that are out there. So you're thinking you could possibly light the 8 and light the 4, right? That's how we're thinking.
So you essentially have 4 posts on the 4.
Yeah.
But the 2 middle posts, they serve the 4 and the 8.
Yeah.
So I
splitting it there though by the 4 and the 8. Okay.
Yeah, I just think that makes sense from the power standpoint to talk about that. It's just when it starts getting colder, it's like everything in the north. You're not as avid, although you can play pickleball at 20 degrees if there's no. If it's not too windy and you're warm because you're running around a lot, it's perfectly comfortable to play at that temperature if it's not windy and the snow blowing on you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kim.
Can somebody explain how we got from 210,000 in the original bid to 160 now without having the contractor honoring his original bid price? I didn't understand that, because we've talked about this several times, about the lights being 210,000, and now they're asking 160. I don't understand where that other $50,000 went, or were we looking at the wrong number in the first place?
I don't know that the 210 was ever an outside bid. I think that was a placeholder that got put into the CIP.
So the 143,710, that's actually what they bid to us. They bid that as an alternative. We rejected that alternative because of the budget constraints at that moment. They've agreed to hold that price. They bid us back in March or April, plus $2,100 for the renting of a crane to install it. And then we've added some contingency, about $9,000 into it. I'm not familiar with the 210 number. That might have been an engineering estimate at one point, but I'm not familiar with.
Okay, because we discussed that several times here when we were talking about the easement, that it was more than what the construction of the actual court was, and I didn't understand. I thought that was the bid price, and that's why we were saying that's too much money to put lights in. But, like I said, it's 160 is still a lot of money, but significantly less than 210.
The foundations are there. The 8 are, or the 6 are in right now. So it's mounting the lights and the wiring. Other questions?
The original scope for the whole project, was it to have lights in it all along, just not budgeted for it at the time?
I think the intent was to do it all, and then as it got designed and it got bid, it came in over the budget amount. So it was designed with the lights, that's how the poles got put there. It got bid with the lights, but the lights were pulled as part of the approval process because there wasn't enough money to build the new courts. Everything else that's been approved out there over the last 6 months. But the intent was to have lights there at some point. That's why the bases are there. That's why it was run for that.
So the original environmental document was to have light intrusion calculated into this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a photometric sheet on one of the pages in the packet that kind of show what the intensities are. And then it was, as part of the budget process, I think in one of the budgets, it actually was called out as lighting the court. And it just didn't happen because of the budgets. We picked priorities. And at that point, with the funding we had, we tried to get more courts than just lighting the existing ones.
And are we approving, did a change order 1 get approved before?
Change order 1 was administratively approved by staff, and that was a change order for, the big chunk of that was to put the, it's like a flexible membrane.
The fiberglass.
Yes, thank you. I think it was, yeah, so it's a fiberglass surface we've been trying to put onto these courts now. The issue we've run into on these pickleball courts is they're not built like a basketball court, so they actually need a higher density of asphalt. That's what we're finding in the Chicory Meadows project and also in the Hub project. And then the recommendation from the designer and the contractors now is put this fiberglass layer across the top, so then it has the ability to flex and move and hopefully avoid that cracking that we've seen in some of these courts. And the crack's more impactful on pickleball because you're using a hard ball versus tennis, where there's a little more give to that. So the intent of that change order was to hopefully give us some additional time before we have to spend money into the maintenance of crack filling and resurfacing the court.
And there was no cost increase with that one?
It was like $17,000, $18,000, and that kind of bid into the contingency, and there was something else on that too. I forget what
restoration.
Restoration work, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bill.
just a comment. I mean, we've got lights at the McKee tennis courts, which is our marquee tennis court setup. We've got lights at the ball fields at McGaw. If you want to play it, that's the place for playing baseball or softball, and this is also the place for playing pickleball in the city. So it makes a good deal of sense to me to have this lighting here.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have some comments. No. Residents, thank you for coming. I'd like to talk to you frankly about this. After last time I gathered, people were taking out pitchforks and torches ready to come to my house because I suggested, that we have a cost sharing. And let me tell you where I'm coming from. So the funds for the, and I'm not opposed to the lights. Okay, I'm just going to start out. I think the lights are great, and it's just how to pay for them. So the money that's we're getting this from, it's from the Artisan Village development, that was in Southdale, and parkland dedication fees for that. And I felt very strongly, I'm very familiar with the Southdale Park, and that we spend that money there. The park needs upgrading. It's a economically challenged part of town. I really wanted to see a nice park there, and things we proposed that we wanted to do were taken out of our plan. And so I think you see where I'm coming from there, that you're getting that money, and as the mayor indicated, there's more money to do that stuff. I suspect it never works that way. You're going to tell them we can't do this or that at the park. The second, how it came about, the Chamber of Commerce was lobbying the city. Yes, we have to have lights for a pickleball court so we can have tournaments. I wish I had never heard that. If I would have heard the mayor wants to put them in because the residents would like extended hours to play, and our growth, absolutely. It makes sense. But the Chamber of Commerce, who is essentially funded by taxpayer money, the room tax funds them, and then they're coming back advocating you need to spend this. I think that's a conflict of interest. I didn't appreciate it happening that way. I would have preferred that maybe they, all right, we would like these for, so we could have tournaments. It's certainly, the big benefit for the residents, but maybe they would have endeavored on a fundraising to come up with some of the money. I know you're all looking at me like I'm taking money, I'm taking the lollipop out of the baby's mouth, but I have many priorities that I look at. As you heard me say, I represent the poorest district in the city, the most people of low income in the city, and I have to look at all these things in my request. That some sort of cost sharing. I still think it was valid. I don't think I'm out of line now. The one gentleman that wanted the one gentleman that was whining, I'm never going to use the splash pad. Come on, let's get real. That's how I feel. I was never opposed to the lights. I was disappointed. The pickleball, the tournaments. You have to keep in mind, people that want to come play that aren't involved in that can't play on those days. Also, I'm not opposed to the tournament, but I don't see it as a big economic benefit to the city, maybe as much as the chamber has. So I need to be frank with you, where I'm not. I'm not opposed to the lights. I recognize the value that is bringing, but where the money was coming from it, I have an issue that's taken away from maybe a little more needy section of town for that. So I hope you understand that. Okay, it's not going to matter. It's 7-1 on council against me, so don't worry. Anyone else?
Question maybe for Tim here. This will extend usage to more hours in the day. You also have other activities, baseball, and do you have the parking to handle if everything's going all at once?
Yeah, there is a decent sized parking lot at McGaw.
Okay.
You don't want the softball, the Dairyland softball tournament the same weekend as Copa having the pickleball tournament. That would be that'd be a mess. But it is a long road going into McGaw. There's places you can park. There's grass. But good question, Don. Yeah. Anyone else? All right.
I still don't like the fact that we got to have all the lights on at one time. That should be changed.
Do you want to propose an amendment?
I have another question is, how do they go off? Do the people that, when they're done using them, have to turn it off with this key? Or is it a timed thing that once you turn it on, it stays on for 4 hours? Or how do they go off?
Yeah, so my understanding is it's a timer that they've said that we can set the time of it. So if we want it to be on for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I'm not sure what the appropriate time is. But then when it gets to 5 minutes left, there's a blue strobe or light on it that kind of starts to flash just to warn people the lights are going off in 5 minutes. And at that point, they can either re-up and turn the lights back on, or they go off. And then they'll shut off at 10 o'clock automatically, just like McKee.
You got to stop taking it easy on your opponent and finish the game so you can do that.
Okay.
So did you want to propose an amendment, Dave?
Yeah, I'd like to propose an amendment to that. That's the number. To resolution R171-25 to make sure that we have lights that we can turn off, not all of them on at one time.
So the lighting for 4 courts separate from the lighting for the 8 courts is what I understand you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. We have a second to that amendment.
No.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Discussion.
Should we put some criteria in as to if they get a cost on it, if it's reasonable, or can they do, rather than just saying they have to, can we make the amendment be, it should be looked into to see if it's feasible as part of the cost, or I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure I would vote for an amendment that says it has to be that way and then get the cost in, then it's $50,000 to do it.
Yeah, I won't do it for $50,000.
Can I offer something here?
Yes, I was going to ask you.
First of all, I've already sent the email asking if it's possible, because to your point, if it's $50,000, you got to rewire the whole thing. it's not feasible. If it's a switch issue or something we can easily do, we've got contingency in here of, as part of this budget amendment of approximately $9,000. The other contingency has already been eaten up. I mean, quite honestly, if it's, I'm just talking out of school here, if it's less than, $5,000, you're probably going to look at it and do it. That seems reasonable between us here, I guess, and the public, but that seems like a fair thing to do if we can put a switch in or a modification of some type. If it's more than that, I get a little uncomfortable, but we should have that answer here pretty quick. I mean, the company doing the work is the same company who's built it so far, and, they do a lot of this work. So I'll definitely have it before the council meeting next Tuesday. But that was kind of what I was thinking about, 5,000 or less, and that might even be too high.
Okay, so do we need an amendment? I don't think council would be opposed at all to that if it's a reasonable, 9,000 or less. Don't tell the contractor you got 9,000 contingency.
So Dave, can you modify your amendment to say, look into the cost, and if it's reasonable, that we would support that?
Sounds like that's happening now already, though, right?
Yeah, I sent an email already as you were
Yeah,
talking.
he is looking into it, but, I mean, his amendment was that we have to do
Right.
for and aid.
Amend it to state that we look into the cost of it.
Okay, and I'll agree to that as the second.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that?
I'll just point everybody to page 48 of the packet here, where it's got kind of if you zoom in, you can see the diagram of the main panel. And it looks like, if this thing is maxed out, it's pulling 20 kilowatts. So if we attribute all of that to the lights and we say, okay, we can cut that in half, that's 10 kilowatts. So for an hour, you got 10 kilowatt hours, that's probably $5, so it might be $15 a day or something.
So if it was 20 kilowatts, we got 12 for the 12, so we got a third. So the 4 courts would draw a third, and the 8 would draw 2/3 of that.
So even if it's $15 a day at 100 days, you're still at 15. It's pennies make dollars.
Yeah.
Let's revisit that math for a second. So if it's 10 kilowatts, figure 20 cents per kilowatt hour. That's $2 per hour, $6 for half of it. It'd be, $12 for the full set of lights.
I think
so
we get your point that the cost is really not that significant, but it's the
I just want to make sure
perception.
I just want to make sure everybody's got that in mind when we talk about the increased cost in, the electrical infrastructure to allow us to control these things separately.
Well, the other thing is how close is the neighborhood to these lights being on all night?
I don't think that's an issue. I think a lot of the neighbors right there, Dave, will probably come over.
I think it's more of a perception as to
they're cut off lights too.
12 courts lit up and 2
Nobody
people playing.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. The cost is probably insignificant, so does it really matter? And if, like you said, if it's going to be more than $5,000, it's probably not worth it because, you'd eat that up and your savings in electric costs would be really irrelevant.
Shelley, did you guys have any estimate of number of hours you thought, over the course of a year, if you had lights, they'd be on?
If you're talking about the months of May, June, July, and August, then I would think they would be on the whole time. I mean, evenings.
Probably 3 hours a night.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Or a couple hours, depends if it's July, sun doesn't
Don't
go down
need that
till.
many. Yeah, people aren't playing after 10.
No,
it's
they
light
won't be
till
paying
9.
after 10, right.
So if you said 2 hours, all right, let me take this back and do some calculations. Okay. Adam, I'd like to pass this amendment, but council, we can discuss it, and I'll have some numbers, okay, and they can determine if they want to move ahead with it. But the motion is on the floor. We'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next to the, back to the main motion, amended resolution R 17125, approving change order 2 for the pickleball courts. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you for coming. Please put away the torches and pitchforks at your house.
Adam.
I don't want you in my yard.
Question. You have the ability to control it. They're off automatically at 10 o'clock. Do you shut them off seasonally too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure once the nets are down, we can just turn a switch and turn them off.
Okay.
I mean, you're paying still a service fee, but yeah, we can shut them off.
Yeah.
When do you take the nets down? It depends on the weather.
Oh, weather, yeah.
Okay,
Because
once
once
we get snow on.
the last thing we want is anyone out there with a shovel. We
Yeah.
did the same thing last year at McKee because we're trying to really protect
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Because someone inadvertently is going to scratch it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
One more question for Adam. Is the fiberglass surface, is that going to be slipperier when wet than regular paint?
No, it's they still. I think they put a cement or some type of layer over it, so it's not. It's just a membrane that's under there to let it flex and move. So I don't know. It's not going to impact at all that, and they still paint on top of it. So we've talked to now 3-4 contractors, and every one of them has said you need to be doing this. So we're still kind of learning through the pickleball process of how to build these, and they're built at a higher level than basketball.
So is that fiberglass, is that kind of the same sort of idea as post-tensioned concrete would be?
Well, I know one of our parks guys has referenced that as we should have that, so not sure. I don't know. That's above me, like electrical stuff.
All right. Thank you. Good discussion. All right, next we'll move on. We have Resolution 5 Delta. Thank you, Adam. Resolution 16325, approving second amendment to the agreement for engineering services for Fitch-Rona Road construction. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, I'll give this one to Don. It's for the land acquisition changes. Is that the main driver on this one?
And also the sewer upgrade.
yes,
So
yes,
we're
I'm
going
sorry.
to
Yeah.
increase the diameter of the existing sanitary sewer from, I believe it's 8 and 10 inch now, up to 12. Previously, we were just going to line this, but as we worked through the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, we determined it would be best if we upgraded that now while the road was being reconstructed to kind of accommodate that neighborhood in the future.
Sanitary sewer you're talking about.
Sanitary sewer, correct.
Yeah, it's a tall order, even doing anything down there. You know, we've had
That one's really,
put other sewer. You know,
it's gonna be tough.
trying to do it, you're right at the water table. Bill.
Yeah, I kind of thought we were, as part of South Stoner Prairie, we went ahead with it in part because it could be gravity sewered, but there was verbiage in here about having to go through a lift station. Can you talk about that? And, what is that, is there going to be some sort of an impact fee on all the residents here to help offset the cost for that?
Well, the lift station, I don't believe it was part of South Stoner Prairie. It may have been the development or the land south of South Stoner Prairie. If that were ever to go north, that may have to be utilized, a lift station utilized to get it up and over the ridge to the south. But yeah, the lift station would be a user fee, kind of like what we've done with Terra Vesta, would be then just charged to the users of the lift station itself, not the entire system.
Answer your question, Bill? I'll give you a minute.
Yeah, I guess I was, like I said, I was under the impression that the whole neighborhood could be gravity sewered. And I remember we had that addition on the east side of the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood that was at least partially conditioned on it, on the ability to gravity sewer that.
Yeah, so the east side of South Stoner Prairie goes to our Lacey Road system, and then the west side of South Stoner Prairie is going to come north through Fitch-Rona, is how we have that proposed. But I do believe that the lift station that was talked about was more for the property south of South Stoner Prairie.
That aren't platted yet, is that?
Yeah, none of this has been platted.
Thank you for raising that, Bill. I appreciate the clarification. Anything else on this? Okay. And then we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution 16325, approving second amendment to agreement for engineering services Fitch-Rona Road Reconstruction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Next, we have 5 Echo, Resolution R 15525, accepting subdivision improvements in Phase 4 of the plat of Highfield Reserve. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim Lobdell. Everything meets our inspections, are completed, and everything looks good on this?
Yes, and this was postponed at a previous
that's
Public
right.
Works meeting.
Yeah.
We were just waiting on the lien waivers,
Yes.
which we have received.
Okay.
So we're looking to move forward with the approval of the subdivision improvements.
Thank you, I forgot about that. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 15525 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion carries. Next, we have 5 Foxtrot, Resolution R 15625, accepting subdivision improvements in the plat of Oak Meadow Reserve. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move we approve Resolution R156-25.
Moved by Dave Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. This was the same thing, wasn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
Still waiting on the lien waivers, which we did receive,
Okay.
and looking to move forward.
All right. Questions on that? Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I'm looking at on page 73 of the document, page 3 of 5. The hatched area there shows the easements. Are those permanent easements or temporary? It looks like they're going to run straight underneath people's homes. And how does that work?
And that, if you remember previously, I think it was either last meeting or the meeting before, we had some easement releases for this project. That's kind of the shaded area. So the previous plat needed these easements, but once it was replatted, we relocated the easements. So these have been released, so that they're no longer in the areas that you see here.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And if you kind of go to, looks like page 72 of the packet, you'll kind of see the easements. There's a 10-foot utility easement that runs kind of on the east side of lots, let's see, lot 2 through 8, kind of on the backyard. So that's kind of where that easement was relocated to.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Tim, and maybe it's a planning question, but what's our minimum lot size we can build on?
Yeah, that would be a planning question, and that's all dependent on zoning and land use.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that. I'm not on.
Okay.
Yeah, is this zoned low-density residential? I think those lots have to be at least 7,000 square feet, if I remember right.
That makes sense.
Okay. Because I look at lot 10, you got a 20-foot easement in the back, you got a 11-foot easement on the side, and then whatever you got at the front. It's a tiny lot to build on.
Well, it's 0.2 acres. That's not small.
0.192, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm rounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My lot is 0.25. I got a quarter acre. So.
Yeah, but do you have a 20-foot easement in the back and a 11 on the side?
No, I do not. Well, you have setbacks no matter what, but yeah. Any other questions on this one? Okay. Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 15625 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, October 20th. Let me know if you're not going to be able to make it.
I'll be here.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move we adjourn.
Moved by Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jetzer. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 6:48. Thank you.